Hey, Tourpreneurs, it is Mitch, Bach, and Peter Syme, and today we have a very special guest with us. His name is Chris Torres. He's a new and up-and-coming tour operator and marketer who is, I believe, Chris, are you new to this industry or have you been around for a while?
I wish I was new. I wish I was still young. I've actually, believe it or not, I've been working in sort of marketing and design since I was 16, and I've now just turned 50, so it's been a long time.
Those of you who don't know Chris, you should, because he wrote the legendary Lookers, Turning Lookers into Bookers book spent that gave years and years and years of tour operators their first taste of what digital marketing meant and the path that they had to follow as a tour business, only to be surpassed by his latest book, Lookers into Bookers Part 2, which followed the story of one tour operator and told the story of their branding and marketing and positioning and everything else. All of this has meant Chris has been not only an invaluable business coach and tourpreneur partner in the last years, but for decades has served this industry. And today, Chris Torres is coming on to Tourpreneur with a very special announcement. Chris, what do you have to announce today to the whole world of tour and activity providers?
Yeah, so after 17 years of running TMA, I have now sold the business to a group in Wales who run other marketing agencies. So yeah, as of actually probably sort of middle of February, I sold TMA to this group. So yeah, that's a big announcement that I'm making today, and still very much going to be in the industry and still very much going to be helping the team at TMA over the coming months, but ultimately be stepping back, and this TMA will go off in new pastures and being run by someone else.
So that's great news for you, obviously, and your family. But
Thank you.
for me and Mitch, that means we can send you so much more work now for Tourpreneur, and we thumbs up.
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason. It means I can actually focus a bit more on Tourpreneur and helping you guys and helping out obviously the community and stuff like that, and other things that I'm interested in and things that I want to do. So yeah, it's been, don't get me wrong, it's one of those things that really came out of the blue. It wasn't something I was overly looking for, but the opportunity came along, and these opportunities, as you know, Pete, you've sold a few businesses. They don't come along that often. So when it came around, I just felt, no, after 17 years, I've taken the business, I think, as far as I could, and I think it needs fresh ideas and fresh blood to take it forward. And I think handing over the reins to the Trikon group, who they're called, I think is going to take it in the right direction.
Pete, I have to ask you this. What does it mean in terms of the United Kingdom for a Scotsman to sell his business to the Welsh? Is that even allowed?
Well, it's certainly better than selling it to the English, that's for sure. But well, yeah, I suppose I've put the Irish slightly above the Welsh. But yeah, it's a nice little place. They're trying hard. As good as staying in the UK, the United Kingdom, the business is staying in the UK, and it's off to a much bigger marketing company, so it's good to see. So, Chris, what's going to happen to marketing? Are you selling your business because you think marketing is no longer needed? What's going to happen to marketing then?
You've been listening to Pete's AI crap, haven't you?
Yeah. No, marketing is still very much required. No, if anything, in today's world, it's probably more needed than anything. Really, storytelling still needs to happen. You still need to create awareness of a brand, just because of the amount of brand clutter and marketing messages and everything else is out there. So you need to get a bit more innovative in terms of the marketing you need to do and put out there, etc. So especially with video now growing massively over the last few years, it's just, yeah, if anything, marketing it's not going away, and if it's just going to get more and more ingrained, to be honest. So it's something that's still going to be required, really, to be honest.
I've just come off a coaching call with Tourpreneur members, and my coaching calls covered the whole gambit. But over 70% of the questions today were around what I would call marketing. You can call some of it business development, you can call some of it sales, because it's all interlinked. But marketing, business development, sales represented 70% of the questions from the community today on my call. So to your point that it's becoming more important, I agree with. I would also argue it's becoming more confusing. Operators and pulled in all sorts of different directions. They go in the community, they see some bits of the community doing really well with this route for marketing, other ones do. And it's not one, as we know, it's not one system fits all. It's what type of business are you? And day tours, multi-days, destinations, etc. Who's your customers? Where are your customers? And what's the financial capability of your customers? Where is your customers hanging out, not just physically in person, but digitally as well? And getting all of that to get the marketing funnel and the marketing programs targeted correctly is incredibly challenging. And I might just be getting old and you whinging about being 50, you lucky bastard. To me, it seems to be getting a lot more complex than it ever was in my day of being really focused on narrow digital channels and being able to drive a lot of business out of them.
Oh no, yeah, I completely agree. But back when I first started, you had Google ads, Facebook ads. You could do some emails, video, all that. There was defined buckets, and you could do really well in those buckets. And as you know, Pete, you did a lot of Google ads. Back in the day, it was quite easy to get the top of search and all that sort of stuff and everything else. Whereas now you've got to think of reels and shorts and social and email and video and all the different things. There's so many platforms and so many things you need to be on now, and it constantly changes as well, especially now with AI and everything else. All the things are changing, but it just constantly changes, and you need to be on top of it, and you need to be across multiple channels because you just don't know where your customers are going to be on. So you've really got to be on everything pretty much out there.
I feel like the role of an agency is morphing before our eyes. And I see this in our own industry that some of the agencies are going more to the very, very, I would call it technical or technological side. They're developing a lot of tech, a lot of automations, a lot of ways of taking a lot of data and a lot of different things that are either points of expressing your brand or getting the data to do that correctly. And then I see some other agencies that are going towards niche verticals, corporate tours or email marketing. And then I see some that are leaning heavily into creative. Are these, and I feel like they're the directions that they lean into, they do that really, really well. And I don't know if anybody is doing everything really, really well. So it's almost like they're placing their bets on what the future is going to be. I'm wondering what your take is on the state of agencies in our industry right now.
Yeah, there's a lot. Don't get me wrong. Agencies are having to adapt and having to change because of everything that's going on just now with technology. But very much how when I started out my agency, the first year we pretty much with any business, not just tourism. But we actually got to tell this brief story of TMA. We've actually got Alex Bainbridge to blame for me being in this industry, to be honest. So because he, round about the time that we set up back in 2008, he was pretty much he set up sort of Tour CMS. And one of the very first websites we got was Max Adventure from using their system, who are based in Scotland. They were a lot smaller company back then, and they're now a company that makes tens of millions of pounds a year now. Because of what we did for the website for Tour CMS at that time, we just get more and more and more tour operator websites, and we had that decision as what niche would we go down. No, we actually did a lot within renewable energy and some other sectors, and we did obviously a lot with tourism and tour operators, etc. And we thought, no, we need to niche down because it's going to make our lives easier in terms of marketing ourselves as a business to a particular niche and focusing on that. So, and it was literally a 20-minute meeting with Ben and my then business partner. We both went, do we want to talk about wind turbines for the rest of our life, or do we want to go down the tourism route? And it was quite an easy decision, to be honest. So you could tell a lot more stories go down the tourism route, and that's basically within the first year we went down that route. So Alex Bainbridge, tip my hat off to him. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. But in terms of other agencies going down either email marketing or whatever, I get it. It's because it allows them to focus on that one thing and get really, really good at it. But there's still going to be the needs, and a lot of operators and just businesses in general don't like to have to have multiple contacts across multiple different agencies or multiple different platforms to try and get a certain job done. Because it's been running an agency for, we've worked with other agencies and other people with tour operators and tourism businesses. And yes, it can be easy as well, but it can also be hard because you all have your own ideas and how a business should be promoted and marketed and things like that. Whereas you have an agency like TMA where I've in a way siloed my teams to be a bunch of people who are really good on content marketing, a bunch of people who are good on PPC, etc., etc. So we've siloed our teams in that sort of way. not someone who can just do everything in anything. So the teams are good at what they do, and having that spread allows an operator to basically come to one agency and get everything done across the board, and hopefully done well for them. And there is still going to be a need for that, because you will just get some people who just don't want to have to deal with multiple different agencies and get them to talk to each other and stuff like that. But I understand why some people go down that niche, because it is going to make their lives easier, like we did with the tour operators back in the day, and just allows them to go down that sort of tech route as well for a lot of them as well, like the emails and what Thomas do and all that sort of stuff. So I get why they're doing it, and it's a viable option. If they're trying to offer up the other services, they might find it a little bit hard to be able to try and do that across the board.
So what should a tour operator be looking for out of a marketing agency? Now you can speak openly and honestly, since you don't own a marketing agency anymore.
Well, I'll say that, like I say, just to iterate that I'm not going anywhere. I'm still helping the team at TMA, although I'm stepping back from the day-to-day business over the next few months. I'm still helping them and advising them, and almost like being a consultant for them and the clients and stuff like that. So I'm still going to be helping them to a certain extent. But in terms of agencies in general, for what operators need to understand is it's not a quick fix. No, like back in the day, yes, you might be able to do some SEO and some paid ads and you would get almost immediate results. That does not happen anymore. You're talking months of work and implementation and testing and trying new campaigns out and everything else. So, and the other thing about is the argument with OTAs is the amount of commission they spend, or say 25-30% commission. You're literally having to spend the same on marketing, especially if you're just starting out. You're going to have to spend that 25-30% commission to just on whatever profits and revenue you're creating, to spend on your marketing, to spend on ads, to get things done, to hire the people or hire an agency or whatever. So it is a similar sort of vein in terms of how the OTAs work. However, with good marketing, unlike the OTAs, but with good marketing, just like I did with TMA, it's like the spend you have on ads, the spend that you do on marketing will get less and less and less the more good brand awareness you create and the more higher up in the rankings you create and stuff like that. So eventually your marketing budgets should go down because you have more visibility and you're getting better known and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, tour operations just need to understand that marketing takes time. There is no quick fix anymore. And you have to invest in an agency as an investment. If you're going to just work with an agency for 3 months, 6 months, you're not going to see the benefit of it. You need to work with an agency for at least a year, run those campaigns, as I say, lots of tests and measuring, and then within that you'll see the results. Because as we all know, doing SEO and doing content and all that sort of things, it's not going to get you up the rankings that quickly, or work with AI search that quickly. That's going to take at least a year or so to embed itself and gain that traction. So it's an investment, and you need to have work with an agency. You need to have that team that's going to invest in their business as well and try to push it forward, but just give them the time to do so, because you will reap the benefits in the long run.
When do you know it's time to move on from an agency?
Good question.
You've just
I've just done it. Yeah, just done it. To be honest, like I mentioned earlier, I sort of touched upon, I just felt as if I'd taken the agency as far as I could. No, I've been working in agencies, whether it's been design agencies or marketing agencies, etc., since I've been 16. And now, just for me personally, with the family and stuff like that, and what really excites me now is what we do in Tourpreneur, the education of tour operators and helping them grow their businesses that way, consulting with some operators who do some consulting as well. That's the stuff that really excites me now, rather than doing the marketing side, although obviously marketing's still going to be a big part of what I do, but rather than running an agency and doing that side, and like I say, taking it as far as I feel as if I could, or I really wanted to. And when they got to that stage, when after I had these conversations with Trikon, I just sort of sat back and went, actually, no, do you know what? I think it's now time for TMA to be taken in a new direction, taken forward. Like I say, this group owns other agencies, so the resources that they'll now be able to pull into TMA to grow that business and grow the team. So the core team's still going to be there, but allowing them to grow that team and push the business forward and help more operators and do all that. That's where they're going to take the business forward, and I'm excited about that, but it's not where I wanted to take it. I think I felt I've taken it as far as I could and take it as far as I wanted to, and it's now time for that sort of fresh ideas and fresh blood. So it allows me to do more, let's say, with you guys and Tourpreneur and everything else, and do more of the educational side and more of the events that we're on, the consultancy side and that sort of stuff. That's now where, again, 70 years time down the line, that's now where my passion lies, and that's when you get to a stage where you feel your passion's about to switch, that's when you know it's time to sell your business.
When should a tour operator sack their agency?
Good question. If they're not producing the results that they feel they should be getting. No, one thing I will say is if an agency or any marketing professional is going to say, no, and I get it all the time, a tour operator say, well, what's the ROI I'm going to get on this? Nobody can answer that. And if anybody does answer that, it's absolute bullshit, to be honest. So it's never ever rely on someone saying you're going to get 10% this and that, whatever ROI it's going to be. Nobody's going to know that without data. And they've got to accumulate that data over the months and maybe say that 12 months that they're going to be working with. But if after that period you feel as if you're not seeing extra bookings or you're not raising in the rankings or you're not getting ultimately the revenue you should be getting from all those marketing efforts that an agency is doing for you, then you probably know it's probably time to call it quits with them and maybe move on to another agency or someone else. Ultimately, it comes down to results at the end of the day. But again, just give them the time to be able to do that.
When should the marketing agency sack tour operators?
To be honest, it doesn't happen that often, but I've done it myself. Unfortunately, there's been a few occasions where tour operators have been absolutely downright rude to my staff, and I've had to sack them with all the hard work that they've done and everything else. That's been one reason we've had to sack them. But also, I've even had one operator actually hit on one of my staff as well, which is another story which I won't go into here. So that was one of the reasons why. But ultimately, and I have done it before, I said I've had to let an operator go because we can't help your business because we're doing everything right, but maybe they're not doing their part in it as well, because it's an agency can only do so much if they're failing in the implementation of the experiences, for example, or the implementation of trying to close sales, especially within multi-day. Then there's only so much we can do, and I would rather spend my time or spend my team's time helping an operator who can actually take their business forward rather than working with someone who's just looking for that quick fix on just basically can't take their own business forward. So they're basically wasting their money with us. I don't like to see people wasting their money with an agency or anyone else for that matter, if they feel that we can't take that business forward. So if we can't, I'll hold my hands up and say, and have a call with that client and say, we have to end it. We just can't see us helping you take the business forward because of various reasons. And I've been very open about that. And luckily it doesn't happen that often, but it has happened. So,
what does day tour versus multi-day tour marketing strategies look like as differences? And is one working better than the other right now?
I would say, I have to say, we work well with both, to be honest, but if I had to choose one, I prefer doing multi-day, because you could tell more stories, you can do a lot more with content. There's a longer lead-in time in terms of going through that dreaming, planning and booking stages of the customer journey. You can really get into the teeth of a business and the marketing and telling their stories through video and all that sort of stuff. Whereas with day tours, you can still do that to a certain extent, but it tends to be a little bit more quick fix, where if you're trying to get those quick bookings and in destination, where people don't really have that time to read long blogs and watch lots of videos and do all that side of things as well. That still works, like I say, that type of storytelling stuff like that still works to an extent. It still needs to be done for day tours, but it is a lot easier in my opinion for multi-day, because you get that longer lead-in time for people buying those experiences and stuff like that. So it's really just down to there's more. I would say there's more spent on ads on day tours than there is on multi-day tours. You do still need to spend money on ads on multi-day, but it tends to be going through that whole journey of dreaming, planning and booking, whereas day tours tends to be a little bit more, do you want to buy this tour? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that as well? So, there are similarities, but the big differences is more the storytelling element and the spend on ads, to be honest.
What does it take right now to stand out in this insane market where everyone's vying for attention? Everyone's trying to, in some ways, do the same thing. What are some of the strategies or the creative strategies or ways that operators are overcoming this massive hurdle, which is everyone's trying to do everything, everyone's trying to grab everyone's attention right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. No, I've said it for years, and I'll keep saying it. No, even back when I started the agency, video is still hands down the best marketing tool you can use. However, how you use the video is really, really important. And it's why every operator that I speak to and help with the agency is like, the only differentiator, not everyone can run day tours, multi-day tours in this space. They'll all have similar USPs, etc., etc. So it is hard to differentiate yourself from competitors and from other people, etc. The only thing you've really got that's different is themselves, the people behind the business, the tour guides, the owners, all that sort of things. And for me, the storytelling elements, the videos and the content has to come from their perspective, because that's the only real thing that's different from their competitors, because no one is going to be that person or that individual. And ultimately, we all know tourism is very much a people-orientated business. People buy from people at the end of the day. People invest in people. That someone will book a tour after seeing a video because they think, well, that tour guide's personality is right down my street. Their sense of humour or whatever it would be is something that I want to be in their company. So getting across, to stand out, in my opinion, is getting your team, being on video, getting your guides on videos, having them tell their stories is what's going to set you apart, because no one else can be that individual. And if you can get that across, that will relate to the customers that you're trying to attract, that stands you in better stead, in my opinion, than someone who's not doing that, for example. Or if they are doing that, maybe the customer will think, okay, that personality suits me better than the personality of somebody else I've seen in a video, stuff like that. So for me, it's always about the people behind the business. And if you're not doing that, then you are just going to come across as a more sort of generic tour operator or tour guide.
If you want to really stand out today, and I don't recommend this for all our members, so don't all go and do it, but if you really, really understand and know who your customer is in depth, so you have a deep understanding of your customer, by default, you'll also have a deep understanding that 90% of the market plus is not your customer. So go and be very controversial to 90% of the market, because they're not your customer, right? Just tell them, you're not coming on my trip. You're too overweight. Okay, you're not right in the head. Just tell them they're not coming. Right? You will stick out, you will be different, and you will not offend your customer if you know who your customer is. There's too much generic marketing happening, trying to attract every customer into your experience. And here's the reality. Your experience fits a small segment of the market. And once you really understand that, you can be really brave with your marketing, your content, your message, and be controversial. And don't worry about upsetting these people. They're never going to spend money with you anyway. And focus on really pleasing the people who are looking for your type of experience and your type of product, because there's so much clutter out there. And some really good travel marketing I see every week looks exactly the same as the really good travel marketing that I also see the next week and the next week and the next week, all from just a different brand at the top. But there's nothing in it that sticks out or grabs me or punches me in the face. And you really need to get punched in the face in today's world, because the window of opportunity capturing people's attention, because they're all addicted to that TikTok disease, is tiny. A tiny, tiny window you've got. So you've really got to punch somebody in the face.
I completely agree. Completely agree. No, you do. You have to stand out. You really do. You have to stand out. No, I'm actually consulting with Tally Ho just now in London, and part of the sort of strategy we're putting together is adding really a lot of good humour to it as well. So they're going to be creating videos with some comedy and humour because of the nature of how they look and the old fashioned sort of bikes that they go out on and stuff like that. Because that's going to help them make stand out. And it's like, yeah, what can you do? Humour can work really well depending on what type of tours you're doing. As you say, trying to do something that's a bit more controversial can work if it works for your audience. So what can you do that will make you stand out? And it's not just your sort of generic, we do these tours in a city and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I agree.
I have a controversial question. Would you ever hire Peter Syme as a customer support specialist for TMA?
Probably not.
Two guys last while giving marketing advice, just punch them in the face.
Yeah. However, as my business coach, I can see that working really well.
So this is live from one of your coaching calls, literally an hour ago. One of the members in the coach call was asking about itinerary or brochures at an event. Like, he'd just come back from an event. He'd done 50 sales meetings back to back. Small niche business, really good business. I know his business. But he's competing against giants in this sector, like huge there. They turn with the brochures, tour number 43. The buyers are buying tour number 43. He's trying to stand out. And he was asking, he's not invested heavily in the old brochure because he's trying to be more modern. And one of the things I said to him is, if you're going to go down the brochure route, you're going to go down the itinerary route, start taking some of the itinerary out. Your competitors are giving a complete detailed itinerary, whereas you put some stuff in redacted. This is a surprise at events. This is a surprise at event that happens there. Another day, don't overdo it. Redacted, because this is going to be a surprise event. Just doing that one thing makes your itinerary stick out versus the other 49 itineraries that those buyers are seeing that day. Right? You've only got one chance at a lot of this, whether it's in person, whether it's digital, most times you've got one chance. And once you get it in your brain, you've only got one chance, you start to think about how you do things that make that person react, whether it's digitally or in person. And it's got to be different. If it isn't different, you're just going to be one of the 49.
Yeah, I agree. And just on that, though, print marketing is still very much important. No, a lot of operators don't utilise that enough. For some, it's not really necessary, but having brochures or leaflets and flyers and all these different things can still work, especially multi-day, can still work wonders. Because some people just like, and I still do, I don't have a Kindle because I still like reading a real book. I like having that in my hand. It's the same with a brochure or whatever. If I can have a really nicely designed brochure and stuff like that, something I can leave on a coffee table, things like that I love. And maybe it's because my print background from years ago and stuff like that, but just that tactile thing can really make a difference and make people sit back and go, yeah, this is what I want to do, and sit with their friends and sit with their family and just go round the whole book and pass it along. It's such an underutilized tool now because some people just think print's dead, and it's far from it.
Well, Chris, the three of us have been in this industry for decades and decades, and you're the first one to get out. So I raise a glass and tip my hat to you.
I appreciate that. No, Pete got out, but we brought him back in. Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, I'm not going anywhere. No, I'll basically be. Although I'm helping out the team at TMA, I'm going to be doing more things like fractional CMOs, where I've already had some tech companies in the industry asking me if I can help them out for a few months in terms of marketing strategies and plans and things like that. And I'll be doing coaching as well.
Don't get too busy. Tourpreneur.
No, don't worry. Tourpreneur's still going to be there. Don't worry.
Yep. Yeah, you have to ask your bosses, Chris, before you take on these other jobs.
Yeah, that's my wife, my two kids, so that'll be them. But no, it's a big change. It's a big thing. No, it's like I say, I've been doing this since I've been 16, and either working in agencies or running in agencies. So for me, this is actually a huge step of not being in that environment, and it's scary, but it's also given me a bit of a, hate to say the phrase, spring in my step. It's given me something to go, actually, no, this allows me to actually look at doing things that maybe a little bit differently, or I'll spend more time diving into data in the industry and all that sort of stuff. So it's just going to open up a lot more doors, I think, and not having that sort of an agency sort of mindset, an agency sort of hanging over my head all the time, sort of thing.
So I'm just putting the math together. I know Alex Bainbridge is a strange bloke, but he said, I want that 16-year-old boy to be doing the marketing for Max Adventure.
I wasn't 16 when I started TMA. I wish I was. No, it was back in 2008, so I don't know what age was I back then. I can't even do the maths. So yeah, it's basically all Alex Bainbridge's fault was why I'm in this industry. That's and I owe him a huge gratitude for it as well. So to be honest, because I've loved every minute of it.
Okay, folks, it's Friday night, and I've had enough in marketing. Or I'm sick of marketing. Strange people get involved in marketing. I'm off.
Well, funnily enough, I've sold my agency, so I'm probably sick of it as well.
Well, this was another episode of Three Men Who Are Sick of It All, otherwise known as the Tourpreneur Podcast. Congratulations, Chris. You deserve a rum or 6. Go buy yourself another 30 Star Trek souvenirs. And we
Star Wars, not Star Trek.
I know. I was just trying to get a reaction. Yeah. But we look forward to having you around Tourpreneur more, and the industry thanks you for your decades of service, and congratulations. And here's to what's next for you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.